In the bustling city of Newfield, a headline had captured the attention of every newspaper and blog. Tiny Army, a laughingstock or a game-changer. Initially, the public scoffed at the idea. An army of tiny proportions, no larger than action figures, was hard to take seriously in a world accustomed to brute force and high-caliber weapons. The Tiny Army, as it was dubbed, consisted of soldiers no taller than 6 inches, yet each was perfectly proportioned and unmistakably human. Skepticism in the air. The project was the brainchild of Dr. Emily Stanton, a brilliant but reclusive engineer known for her work in micro-robotics and bioengineering. When the government announced its funding for Stanton's project, critics and military experts alike mocked the idea. How could such diminutive forces be of any use in real-world military operations? They argued. Despite the skepticism, Stanton and her team quietly pressed on, perfecting their designs in a secret laboratory deep in the heart of the industrial district. The demo day. The turning point came 6 months after the initial announcement, during a closed demonstration for top military officials and select members of the press. The venue was a scaled-down replica of a typical urban battlefield, complete with miniature buildings and vehicles. The audience watched, some with visible amusement, as the tiny army was deployed. As the demonstration began, the tiny soldiers executed maneuvers with a precision and agility that belied their size. They scaled buildings, neutralized threats with non-lethal force, and conducted surveillance without detection. The crowd's laughter slowly faded as they witnessed the soldiers' capabilities, especially when a simulated hostage situation was resolved in minutes, with no casualties and minimal collateral damage. The technology unveiled. Dr. Stanton took the stage, her presence commanding despite the room's lingering skepticism. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady and confident, "what you see before you is the culmination of decades of research in nanotechnology and human enhancement. These soldiers are not mere robots. They are enhanced human beings, volunteers who have undergone significant downsizing to serve their country in a new frontier of warfare." The revelation shocked the audience. These were not toys or simple machines. They were actual people, trained soldiers who had sacrificed their normal lives to operate under the radar, both literally and metaphorically. The implications. As the implications of such technology began to dawn on the viewers, the mood shifted from mockery to awe, and for some, unease. The ethical questions were immediate and overwhelming. What rights did these tiny soldiers have? What kind of life could they lead? Was this the future of warfare, where invisibility and precision outweighed sheer power? The demonstration concluded with a Q&A session, where Dr. Stanton fielded questions ranging from the technical aspects of the transformation process to the strategic advantages of such a tiny force. "Imagine," she said, "a world where conflicts can be resolved not by who has the bigger weapon, but by who can act with the greatest efficiency and discretion." The buzz begins. As the attendees left, the once mocking tone of the conversations had changed. The tiny army, initially ridiculed, was now a subject of serious discussion and potential admiration. Blogs and social media buzzed with debates over the potential and dangers of Stanton's creation. Meanwhile, hidden from view, the tiny soldiers prepared for their next mission, aware that the world's eyes were now keenly focused on them, awaiting their next move. With the stage set and the pieces in motion, the story of the tiny army was just beginning. Little did they know, their next mission would challenge not only their abilities but also the moral and ethical boundaries of those who sought to control them. Stealth in the city. The first real test of the tiny army's capabilities came unexpectedly. A notorious cartel had kidnapped the daughter of a high-ranking diplomat in broad daylight, demanding a ransom that could destabilize the regional economy. The government, reluctant to bow to such demands and desperate for a resolution that would avoid public panic, called upon Dr. Stanton's team. The operation was set in the dense urban environment of Newfield's old industrial sector, where narrow alleyways and abandoned factories provided perfect hideouts for criminal activities. The tiny army was deployed under the cover of night, their small size allowing them to infiltrate the area undetected. Infiltration led by Captain Leo Hart, a former Navy SEAL who had volunteered for downsizing. The team moved through the sewers and utility pipes, avoiding the gang's lookouts. Hart communicated with his team through micro-earpieces, coordinating their advance with precision. Their target was an old textile mill, now a fortress for the cartel, heavily guarded and fortified. Using their miniature drone, affectionately named Hawkeye, they conducted aerial reconnaissance, mapping out the enemy positions and identifying the room where the hostage was believed to be held. The drone, no larger than a bumblebee, buzzed unnoticed above the heads of the guards. The rescue. The rescue was meticulously planned. 2 snipers, positioned on a nearby rooftop, were tasked with taking out the surveillance cameras using specialized, tiny darts that shorted the electrical circuits without alerting the guards. Meanwhile, Hart and his demolition expert, Sergeant Emily Boom Santos, prepared 2 micro-charges to blow the locks on the back entrance. Once inside, the team used the shadows to their advantage, silently taking down guards with a combination of tranquilizer darts and hand-to-hand combat techniques tailored to their unique size and strengths. Each move was a testament to their rigorous training and adaptability. As they reached the room holding the hostage, Hart signaled to his team to hold position while he and Boom entered. Inside, they found the diplomat's daughter, terrified but unharmed. Hart's calming presence reassured her as he explained their plan for extraction. The escape. With the hostage secured, the team retraced their steps, this time moving faster as the cartel realized the infiltration. A chaotic shootout ensued outside the mill as the cartel's forces scrambled to capture the intruders they couldn't see. Amidst the confusion, Hart's team maneuvered through the chaos, demonstrating their ability to remain virtually invisible, even under direct pursuit. They reached their extraction point, a storm drain leading to the river, just as dawn broke. The escape was narrow. The sound of sirens and the roar of a helicopter filled the air, as local police, tipped off by Stanton, arrived to mop up the remaining cartel members. Aftermath and reflections. Back at the lab while the team debriefed, the rescued girl was reunited with her father, who tearfully thanked Hart and his team. The operation had been a resounding success, proving the tiny army's worth beyond any doubt. Dr. Stanton watched from her office, her thoughts mixed. The success of her team was a validation of her life's work, but the emotional toll on her soldiers, reminded daily of their sacrifice and separation from the regular world, weighed heavily on her conscience. The world was indeed watching now, not with skepticism, but with a mix of awe and fear. How would other nations react to this new form of warfare? And what new challenges would the tiny army face as their existence shifted from experimental to essential? The story of these diminutive warriors was just unfolding, and the stakes were getting higher with each mission.
Shadows over Newfield. With the success of their first mission reverberating through the halls of power worldwide, the tiny army became both a beacon of innovative military tactics and a symbol of emerging threats. This new form of warfare did not go unnoticed by other nations, some of whom viewed the miniature soldiers as a potential violation of international law. As global tensions rose, Dr. Stanton and her team found themselves under intense scrutiny. An international summit. In response to the growing international concern, the United Nations called an emergency summit to discuss the implications of micro-scaled human soldiers. Dr. Stanton was invited to speak, tasked with defending her project's existence and outlining its ethical framework. The summit was held in Geneva, a neutral ground teeming with diplomats, military experts, and bioethicists. Before the assembly, Stanton prepared her defense, emphasizing the non-lethal nature of the tiny army's operations and their potential to minimize civilian casualties in conflict zones. However, she was aware that the real challenge lay in convincing the world leaders of the ethical integrity of downsizing humans for combat roles. Espionage threat. Meanwhile, back in Newfield, Captain Leo Hart and his team were alerted to a potential espionage attempt by a foreign intelligence agency aiming to steal the secrets of the tiny army's technology. This new mission was of a different ilk, less about combat and more about securing their very existence. The team set up surveillance around their lab, utilizing miniature cameras and sensors. The suspected spies, using advanced cloaking technology, attempted to infiltrate the premises under the cover of darkness. However, they underestimated the tiny army's preparedness and ability to detect even the slightest anomalies in their environment. A tense night unfolded as Hart and his team maneuvered through the lab's corridors, using their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. After a strategic game of cat and mouse, they cornered the intruders, capturing them with non-lethal tactics before they could access any sensitive data. Diplomatic tensions. Back in Geneva, as Stanton made her case, the news of the thwarted espionage broke out, adding a layer of urgency to the discussions. The incident demonstrated the global desire to replicate or steal the tiny army technology, highlighting the risks of an arms race in miniature warfare technology. Stanton used this development to stress the need for strict international regulations and cooperative frameworks to manage such advancements responsibly. The summit concluded with a provisional agreement to form a special committee to oversee the development and deployment of miniature soldiers, ensuring compliance with international humanitarian laws and ethical standards. Stanton, relieved, recognized this as a crucial step toward legitimizing her life's work while safeguarding it from misuse. Reflections and preparations. As the team returned to Newfield, their mission's success had broader implications than they initially realized. It was no longer just about their effectiveness in the field, but about shaping the future of warfare and international security. Stanton and Hart knew that they had to continue proving the value of their approach, not just on the battlefield, but in the realm of global diplomacy. The chapter closes as the tiny army, once underestimated and ridiculed, now stands at the forefront of a new era in military and international relations. Their every move watched by a world grappling with the promise and peril of their unprecedented capabilities. Their next steps would have to be as strategic off the field as they were on it.
A new threat emerges. Months after the Geneva summit, Dr. Stanton received confidential intelligence about a clandestine organization, dubbed Silicon Phantom, involved in developing similar micro-soldier technology, but with a more sinister goal. This group was not bound by international agreements or ethical constraints, and their intentions seemed to be disruptive at best, catastrophic at worst. Call to action. With global stability at risk, Stanton knew this was not just a mission for her tiny army, but a call to protect the very fabric of international peace. She briefed Captain Hart and his elite team on a mission of unprecedented complexity to infiltrate Silicon Phantom's secret facility located in the remote steppes of Mongolia. To prepare, the team underwent rigorous new training programs, including environmental survival and advanced cyber hacking techniques. Their gear was upgraded with the latest in nanofiber armor and micro-drones equipped with enhanced surveillance and hacking capabilities. Infiltration of the Phantom. Traveling under the guise of a micro-satellite launch operation, the team set up their base in a nearby abandoned Soviet-era bunker. Using a series of natural and man-made tunnels, they approached the heavily guarded facility. Hart's team deployed their new drones, which mapped the interior and identified key systems and personnel. The challenge was not just physical. The technological defenses of the facility were unlike anything they had encountered before. Silicon Phantom had developed sophisticated AI-driven security systems that could detect anomalies at a micro level. Hart's team used a combination of physical stealth and cyber warfare, led by their tech specialist Lieutenant Mira Cho, to navigate through these defenses. The heart of Silicon Phantom. Deep inside the facility, they discovered more than just manufacturing plants for micro-soldiers. Silicon Phantom was experimenting with AI enhancements that could potentially lead to autonomous micro-armies, uncontrollable and designed for mass disruption. The ethical implications were alarming. The team planted a series of data siphons to gather as much intelligence as possible and prepared for extraction. However, their presence did not go undetected for long. An intense confrontation ensued as they made their escape, showcasing not just their physical prowess, but their strategic acumen in using their small size to manipulate the larger environment to their advantage. Exposing the conspiracy. Back in Newfield with a treasure trove of data, Stanton and her team worked with international agencies to expose the depths of Silicon Phantom's plans. The revelation led to a series of global raids and arrests, thwarting an imminent threat that had lurked in the shadows. The aftermath of the mission reinforced the necessity of the tiny army's existence, not just as a tool of warfare, but as a guardian against the misuse of emerging technologies. The global community was forced to reckon with the reality that the future of security and warfare was irrevocably tied to the ethical development and deployment of such technologies. Reflection and vigilance. As the news of their success spread, Captain Hart and his team were celebrated as heroes, but within the confines of their lab, they remained vigilant. The world had changed, and they were at the forefront of this new age. Stanton, ever the visionary, began to plan for the future, aware that the success of her tiny army had sown the seeds for new challenges. Each victory was a step forward, but each revealed further horizons to strive for, in a world where the smallest warriors might just hold the key to the biggest victories. A forgotten threat rekindled. While the tiny army and the global community reveled in their triumph over the Silicon Phantom, a new yet familiar peril began to stir. Reports surfaced from the dense jungles of the Amazon, where a forgotten research facility, once part of a covert bioweapons program, had been unexpectedly reactivated. Satellite imagery revealed unusual activity, suggesting that someone was attempting to harness and possibly weaponize ancient viral strains preserved in the permafrost, mobilizing the miniature guard. Aware of the catastrophic potential of such biological threats, Dr. Stanton swiftly mobilized her team for a mission that would push them into uncharted territories, both geographically and morally. This mission wasn't just about neutralizing a threat, but also about confronting the ethical implications of eradicating a potentially invaluable scientific discovery, albeit a dangerous one. Captain Hart, hardened by his recent encounters yet haunted by the scale of potential devastation, led a specialized unit equipped with biohazard gear scaled down to their size. They were tasked with infiltrating the facility, assessing the situation, and neutralizing the threat before it could become a global pandemic. Journey into the Green Inferno. The team's insertion point was several kilometers from the facility, requiring them to traverse the dense underbrush of the jungle. The environment was as much an adversary as any armed guard, with predatory wildlife and treacherous terrain. The team's biologist, Corporal Sarah Nguyen, played a crucial role, guiding them through natural hazards and employing her expertise to interact safely with the jungle's ecosystem. Their approach to the facility was slow and methodical, using the jungle's dense canopy as cover from aerial drones and employing natural remedies to mask their thermal signatures from sensors. Inside the Pandora's box. Upon reaching the facility, the team discovered that it was operated by remnants of a rogue state's military faction, intent on reviving the bioweapons program for bargaining power on the global stage. The stakes were higher than ever, as any mistake could release pathogens capable of altering the course of human history. Lieutenant Mira Cho and her tech team worked to infiltrate the facility's security network, disabling alarms and accessing classified data that revealed the full scope of the project. Meanwhile, Hart and his combat unit prepared to sabotage the lab's containment systems. The critical choice. As they reached the core lab, the team faced a critical decision. Destroying the viral strains would prevent immediate danger, but also erase decades of research that could potentially lead to medical breakthroughs. After intense deliberation, Hart made the call to secure samples for UN-controlled research rather than complete destruction. The extraction was fraught with peril, as the facility's overseers initiated a lockdown. The team had to employ every ounce of their ingenuity and training to escape through a labyrinth of corridors and shafts, narrowly avoiding encounters with both the facility's defenses and the unleashed pathogens. A world on the brink. Successfully back at their base, the team handed over the secured viral samples to an international task force designed to study and contain such threats under strict ethical guidelines. The world had narrowly averted disaster, thanks to the courage and quick thinking of the tiny army. In the aftermath, As global leaders convened to discuss the implications of bioweaponry and the necessity of stringent international oversight, Dr. Stanton and Captain Hart reflected on their journey. They had ventured into the heart of darkness and emerged not just as soldiers, but as guardians of humanity's future. With new alliances formed and old adversaries watching closely, the tiny army stood ready, a miniature but mighty force on the front lines of a world that was rapidly changing, where the echoes of the past continually shaped the challenges of the future. A frigid challenge. Several months following their expedition into the Amazon, the tiny army faced an urgent call to action from the icy expanses of the Arctic Circle. Satellite anomalies detected by global monitoring stations hinted at an illicit operation aimed at manipulating the weather. This clandestine initiative, codenamed Frostbite, was believed to be orchestrated by a coalition of rogue tech conglomerates and displaced geopolitical factions seeking to shift global climate patterns to their advantage. Preparing for the cold, Dr. Stanton, recognizing the unprecedented nature of this mission, augmented her team's capabilities with state-of-the-art thermal and environmental suits, specifically engineered to withstand extreme cold and electromagnetic disturbances. Captain Hart, ever the meticulous planner, coordinated with climatologists and former polar explorers to adapt their tactics for the harsh Arctic environment. The mission's logistics were complex, involving stealth insertion via a modified unmanned submersible that could navigate the icy waters undetected. The team was set to land on a remote and uncharted island, recently formed due to melting ice caps, which served as the base for the Frostbite operation. Infiltration on ice. Upon arrival, the stark landscape presented immediate challenges. Blinding blizzards, treacherous ice, and the constant threat of exposure tested their endurance. Utilizing specialized climbing gear and ice-penetrating radar, the team navigated the frozen terrain, moving towards the source of the detected anomalies. Their approach was silent yet swift, using compact ice-adapted drones for reconnaissance. These drones, equipped with thermal imaging, revealed the hidden entrance to a subterranean facility burrowed deep within the island's core. Unraveling Frostbite inside, the facility was a hive of activity. Scientists and engineers, under duress from their overseers, worked tirelessly to deploy a series of high-powered atmospheric processors capable of initiating uncontrolled weather patterns. Hart and his team, blending into their surroundings with cloaked gear, gathered crucial intelligence and prepared for a strategic sabotage. Lieutenant Cho, taking the lead on technical operations, infiltrated the facility's mainframe to disrupt the command sequences of the atmospheric processors. Each member of the team had a specific role, disabling power sources, neutralizing security measures, and ensuring no trace of their intervention remained. A race against time. As they neared the completion of their mission, the facility's overseers initiated a desperate protocol to launch the weather manipulation sequence prematurely. The team, understanding the catastrophic impact of a successful launch, split efforts. Half continued the sabotage while the rest secured the control room. In a tense showdown, Hart and his operatives managed to avert disaster seconds before activation, using their precise skills to override the system. The facility was left inoperable, with all data regarding the Frostbite operation securely extracted for analysis by global environmental agencies. Global aftermath. Returning from the Arctic, the tiny army's successful intervention brought them under international commendation. Their efforts had not only prevented a potential environmental disaster, but also exposed a network of technological exploitation aiming to control natural resources and global climates. In the following weeks, global summits focused on tightening regulations around environmental manipulation technologies. Dr. Stanton, speaking at these summits, emphasized the need for vigilant oversight and the ethical use of technology in combating climate change rather than exploiting it. Reflections in the cold back at their base, the team pondered the evolving nature of their missions, from military engagements to environmental guardianship. Captain Hart, looking out over the frosty horizon, considered the broader implications of their actions, knowing well that the battle against those who seek to exploit the planet's vulnerabilities was just beginning. As the world applauded their bravery and strategic prowess, the tiny army prepared for the future, ready to confront any challenge that threatened the delicate balance of the planet's ecosystems or the ethical boundaries of technological advancement. A cosmic undertaking. The consequences of the tiny army's Earth-bound missions reverberated far beyond the geopolitical and environmental landscapes, catching the attention of the international space community. Anomalies detected on a newly established research colony on Venus hinted at a covert sabotage effort that could endanger not just the colony, but future interplanetary relations. This mission marked the tiny army's first venture into space, transforming them from terrestrial defenders into guardians of Earth's extraterrestrial interests. Gearing for the stars, preparations for the Venus mission were unlike any other. Dr. Stanton's team underwent rigorous training in zero-gravity environments and studied the harsh conditions of Venus, known for its extreme temperatures and corrosive atmosphere. Their equipment was upgraded with advanced thermal protection and materials capable of withstanding Venus's oppressive environment. The stakes were high, as failure could lead to diplomatic tensions with other nations involved in the colony. Launch and transit. The launch was a spectacle of modern technology and human courage. Encased in a specially designed spacecraft, the tiny army embarked on their journey, feeling the familiar pull of Earth fade away as they rocketed toward Venus. The transit was tense, with each soldier mentally preparing for the unknown challenges of space warfare and sabotage. Upon arrival, they docked at the International Venusian Outpost, a sprawling complex of research labs and living quarters orbiting the planet. Initial investigations suggested that the sabotage was aimed at crippling the outpost's life support systems, an act that could be traced back to a rogue corporate entity with interests in monopolizing Venus's mineral resources. Covert operations in orbit. Captain Hart's team deployed silently through the outpost, using their microgravity training to navigate the narrow corridors and service ducts. Their objective was clear: locate the source of the sabotage and neutralize it before it could cause irreversible damage. Surveillance footage obtained through covert taps revealed a group of engineers installing illegal software patches to the outpost's central computer. Lieutenant Cho led a delicate cyber operation to trace the software's origin, while Hart and his tactical team prepared for a direct confrontation. The engineers, unaware of the tiny army's presence, continued their operations until Hart and his team made their strategic move, capturing them in a swift, silent takedown. Diplomatic repercussions and resolution. With the saboteurs in custody, the outpost commander initiated emergency communications with Earth, reporting the incident and the tiny army's pivotal role in preventing disaster. The information extracted from the engineers led to a larger investigation, revealing a network of corporate espionage that extended into other space programs. The resolution of the sabotage incident solidified the tiny army's role not only as a terrestrial force, but as a crucial asset in maintaining security and peace in Earth's off-world colonies. Diplomatic talks followed, with Earth's spacefaring nations agreeing to new protocols for security and cooperation in space exploration and exploitation. Reflections beyond Earth. Back on Venus, as the tiny army prepared for their return to Earth, they contemplated the expanded scope of their mission. Space, with its boundless potential and inherent risks, offered a new frontier for their operations. The implications of their success resonated deeply with each member, knowing they had protected humanity's aspirations among the stars. The journey back to Earth was filled with a sense of achievement, but also a renewed understanding of the challenges ahead. As they re-entered Earth's atmosphere, the tiny army was not just returning as heroes. They were coming back as pioneers of a new dimension of defense, ready to defend their planet both on the ground and beyond. The aftermath of the Venus mission brought unprecedented public and governmental attention to the tiny army's capabilities. Amidst the accolades, Dr. Stanton's team quietly embarked on their most ambitious project yet, a quantum computing initiative named Project Qsync. This top-secret project aimed to leverage quantum entanglement to enhance communication and control capabilities across vast distances, potentially revolutionizing how the tiny army operated both on Earth and in extraterrestrial environments. Quantum challenges. The complexities of quantum mechanics required a new type of training and mental acuity from the team. Dr. Stanton collaborated with the world's leading physicists to adapt quantum theory into practical applications for military use. The goal was to create a quantum communication network that was unhackable and could operate instantaneously over any distance, a crucial advantage for operations in space where traditional signals faced significant delays. The heist at Helix Labs. As the project neared its first major testing phase, intelligence reports surfaced about a potential threat aimed at seizing the quantum technology. A notorious tech syndicate, known as Helix, had infiltrated several high-security labs around the globe, stealing quantum-related technology and research. To prevent Helix from disrupting Project Qsync, Captain Hart and his team were dispatched to secure Helix Labs, the syndicate's suspected base of operations located in an isolated region of the Siberian tundra. Operation Quantum Shield. Arriving under the harsh Siberian winter, the team utilized specialized all-terrain micro-vehicles to cross the treacherous landscape. The lab, disguised as a derelict mining operation, was fortified with advanced security systems that Helix had pilfered from other facilities. Hart's team employed a combination of physical and electronic warfare tactics. Utilizing miniature EMP devices, they disabled the lab's external security sensors and infiltrated the perimeter. Inside, they found a labyrinth of high-tech defenses and traps, showcasing Helix's technological prowess. The team had to adapt quickly, using their newly developed quantum-enhanced gadgets to decrypt security protocols almost instantaneously, a feat that would have been impossible with conventional technology. The quantum core. The heart of Helix Labs housed a prototype quantum computer, far more advanced than any publicly known technology. It became evident that Helix had made significant breakthroughs that could potentially rival Project Qsync. Lieutenant Cho led a critical operation to extract data from the quantum core, while Hart and his combat specialists secured the area. Amidst a fierce confrontation with Helix operatives, the team managed to secure the core's data. However, as they prepared to extract, the lab's self-destruct mechanism was activated, triggered by an unknown fail-safe system. With mere minutes to escape, the team executed a dramatic exit, navigating collapsing corridors and evading high-energy quantum discharges that threatened to disintegrate anything in their path. Quantum aftermath and beyond. Back at their base, Dr. Stanton and her team analyzed the stolen data, making groundbreaking discoveries that propelled Project Qsync forward. The successful operation against Helix Labs not only secured their quantum advancements, but also demonstrated the critical need for their quantum communication network in safeguarding global security. As the world marveled at the potential of quantum technology, the tiny army prepared for the next phase of their mission, knowing that the realm of quantum physics held keys to future challenges and triumphs. With the quantum network nearing operational readiness, they stood on the brink of a new era in defense technology, ready to face whatever threats might emerge from the ever-expanding horizons of human achievement and ambition. And treacherous. Arriving at the entrance shrouded in an unsettling silence, they prepared for entry. The door, a massive steel relic, creaked open to reveal a sprawling subterranean network where shadows seemed to flit between the remnants of old machinery. The whispering walls. As the team delved deeper, the static-laden whispers grew louder, nearly intelligible. Dr. Alan Hirsch, the cryptolinguist, adjusted his specialized recording equipment to capture the elusive sounds, piecing together fragments of sentences that hinted at long-forgotten secrets and covert operations from the Cold War era. The signal, however, was interspersed with what seemed to be real-time data streams, suggesting that the bunker was not just a relic but an active node in a contemporary network. The ghost in the machine. Navigating through corridors lined with rusting control panels and flickering lights, the team encountered a series of locked doors leading to the central command room. Lieutenant Cho deployed her miniature drones, which slipped under doors and through tiny cracks in the infrastructure, providing live feeds of the unexplored areas. The drones revealed a room filled with unexpectedly modern equipment, juxtaposed against the old, pointing to recent use. Using a combination of old keys found on site and modern lockpicking tech, the team gained access to the heart of the bunker. Inside, They found a hybrid setup of analog and digital technologies, wired together in a makeshift yet sophisticated manner. The center was a hub of screens displaying maps dotted with cryptic symbols and live feeds from unknown locations. Unraveling the Nexus. With Cho and Hirsch working in tandem, the team began to decode the complex layers of data and static. Hirsch identified the languages and coded messages embedded within the Nexus signal as a mixture of old spy codes and contemporary quantum encryption, suggesting a bridge between past espionage tactics and modern quantum communications. This discovery aligned with Dr. Stanton's hypothesis that someone might be using the site to conduct experiments in quantum entanglement, potentially aiming to create a covert communication network that could bypass conventional cyber defenses entirely. The ambush. As they unearthed more about the facility's capabilities, the tiny army triggered a silent alarm, leading to an ambush by a group of mercenaries hired to guard the bunker. The ensuing clash was swift and fierce, with the team leveraging their small size and the bunker's cramped spaces to their advantage. Utilizing stun grenades and EMP pulses, they subdued the guards, capturing some for interrogation. The mastermind revealed. From the captured guards, they learned about the mastermind, a rogue scientist named Dr. Viktor Petrov, once a renowned quantum physicist who had disappeared after being dismissed from a prestigious research institute for unethical practices. His goal was clear: to re-establish global power dynamics through the control of information, using the Nexus as his operation's heart. Closing the Nexus, with the full picture now clear, Captain Hart formulated a plan to dismantle the operation permanently. They destroyed the modern equipment, ensuring that no data could be salvaged or used for further operations. Cho set up a fail-safe system to flood the network with white noise, permanently disabling the Nexus signal. Aftermath and reflection. Emerging from the bunker, the team felt the weight of their discovery and its implications. They had not only stopped a potential global crisis, but had also uncovered a historical intertwining of technology and espionage that would require further investigation and vigilance. As they reported back to Dr. Stanton, the importance of their role in shaping the future of global security became ever more apparent. The tiny army, initially formed to tackle terrestrial threats, now found themselves guardians against the shadows of both the past and the emerging quantum future. Into the abyss. The team's journey to the heart of the Carpathian Mountains was fraught with peril. Thick fog and relentless rain obscured their path as they descended deeper into the forest, moving towards the coordinates of the old communications bunker. This desolate facility, hidden by years of neglect and overgrowth, was rumored to have been part of a network for psychological operations during the Cold War. The bunker breach. Upon reaching the bunker, the atmosphere was chilling. The air was thick with the musk of mold and decay. The facility was much larger than anticipated, sprawling underground with multiple levels descending into darkness. The team, equipped with night vision and thermal imaging gear, moved cautiously through the echoing halls, tracking the source of the Nexus signal. Inside, they found outdated equipment and reels of magnetic tape scattered about. A ghostly museum of Cold War espionage. Captain Hart led his team to the central control room, where they discovered a still operational array of analog equipment that was inexplicably broadcasting the Nexus signal. Cryptic discoveries. Lieutenant Mira Cho and the cryptic languages expert, Dr. Alan Hirsch, worked to interface their advanced technology with the archaic systems. As they decoded the garbled messages, they uncovered a series of automated broadcasts designed to interfere with enemy communications, some of which had been misfiring for decades. However, embedded within these messages were newer signals, cleverly masked to utilize the old broadcasts as a cover. These newer messages were not relics, but active data streams encoded with information on quantum mechanics and advanced computational theories, far beyond the original capabilities of the bunker's equipment. This discovery suggested that someone had recently repurposed the bunker for a more sinister, technologically advanced agenda, the Shadow Faction. As the team delved deeper into the data, they pieced together evidence of a shadowy faction within a defunct government agency, long thought to be disbanded. This faction had been experimenting with quantum entanglement and communication, aiming to create a global surveillance network that could operate beyond the reach of conventional cyber defenses. Confrontation and revelation. The mission took a dramatic turn when the team was ambushed by members of the Shadow faction, who had been alerted to their presence by the network's security protocols. A tense standoff ensued in the cramped confines of the bunker. Using their superior training and tactical advantages, Hart's team was able to overcome the faction members, securing the facility. In the aftermath, they seized control of the quantum equipment and began dismantling the faction's operations. The data they retrieved was invaluable, revealing not only the extent of the faction's reach, but also several other covert operations spread across the globe. Aftermath and reflections. Back at headquarters, the implications of their discoveries were profound. The faction's network was more extensive than anyone had anticipated, touching on geopolitical sensitivities and sparking international investigations. For Dr. Stanton and her team, the mission reaffirmed the necessity of their work in maintaining global stability, not just through strength but through vigilance and the pursuit of truth. As they prepared for what lay ahead, the team reflected on the intertwining of technology and secrecy. Each breakthrough brought with it new challenges, and as they looked to the future, they knew their journey was far from over. The tiny army, once underestimated, now stood as a crucial line of defense in a world where the battlefields were as much digital and quantum as they were physical.